What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 12, episode 15. So, we start this episode off. We see Mike and Kenya having a conversation. They're talking about the book again. Sorry. Talking about the book again. Talking about Mike's infidelity, his past, and you know, Mike's attitude is, don't judge me by my past. I don't live there no more. Shout out to Lady Nika. He's been through some things. He's being honest about it. He's putting it in a book. And, Cynthia's thing is, this is what people are going to latch on to. They're going to latch on to the most salacious things. And even though I'm not judging you by what you did, I kind of need to understand what it was. What made you cheat? What made you do it? Because I need to understand how I'm different. I get it. She's anxious. She's nervous. I get all of the above. Like, all of that, I understand. That all makes sense. Mike was a little testy, which I can understand that as well. And he's like, look, I keep telling you, you are the one. And if I screw it up, I don't have anybody to blame but myself. I understand where Cynthia's coming from. I mean, nobody wants to be cheated on. Nobody wants to feel that way. And when you go into a situation knowing that the person you're cheating has been unfaithful in multiple relationships, I get you asking yourself, how am I different? So that was sort of just but they did agree to go to counseling. So we'll see that. They did agree to go to counseling. The ladies are having a kickball. Kenya and Candy are sponsoring a kickball tournament. Well, not a tournament. Kickball game. They didn't even play the best 2 out of 3, honey. They played one game, but it was Kenya and Candy, and of course, the people that Kenya don't really rock with really weren't all that excited about going. Nene didn't go. I'm pretty certain Nene was invited, but Nene did not show up. Nene, we see when Nene and Greg are having a conversation because Mark has been reaching out to Greg. Kenya's husband, Mark. He's been reaching out to Greg. Why was I got a yawn? I'm sorry, y'all. I keep yawning. Mark reached out to Greg about his charity event, and what he's doing is he's sort of doing a pre-event so that everybody can get to know each other. Everybody can meet and, because his thing is, I haven't really met a lot of these people, but I really want to reach out to the guys of the group so that we can all sort of work together. And, Kenya was being her normal petty self, and she invited Greg but didn't invite Nene. Regardless of how you are or aren't getting along with Nene, that's just a no-no. Like, everybody knows you don't invite somebody's husband and you don't invite them. That's just rude. You don't do that. But at the end of the day, Nene, y'all haven't sat down and talked about what went down up in Canada. And, I mean, you did sort of come at Kenya. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot. So, that's sort of what's going on with that. And even with the pre-event, Nene's thing was, well, how you going to, how you going to invite one and not invite the other? Like, if it's a couple's event, we're a couple. Like, you don't get to do one and not do the other. You know what I mean? And so that was just a concern. And again, I think it's valid when you're dealing with couples and you having couples event, you don't invite one and don't invite the other. If Mark is saying he wants to have a little pre-game type situation so we can all get together, get to know each other, it is what it is. But again, there are some issues within the group, and it is what it is. So same thing with the kickball game. Lord, I couldn't get it out. Everybody pretty much showed up except for Tanya and except for Nene. Eva did not have the baby, honey. She's on, they say it's modified bed rest, but child, Eva was at more events on modified bed rest than she was at before. I said, well, child. So they had the yellow team, they had the blue team. It was team 12 versus the Hurricanes, honey. So we have, they went to picking teams, honey. Eva obviously came place. She brought somebody in her place, Bambi. Her name is, Barbie. We ain't never met Barbie before. Shamia came with Portia, of course. Marlo showed up and she brought a friend with her. Kenya, Candy, Cynthia brought her sister. She brought her sister. I couldn't get the name out. Y'all know who her sister is, honey. So they get to picking teams, and Portia was like, please just don't pick me last. She said, I got something about being picked last. And Lord, Portia was picked last. She said in school she was always picked last. I said, Dad, you. So that people just assume you're not athletic, honey. I don't know what that is, but they played and they were having a good time. They were having a ball. You hear me? They were running. They were having fun. And they had to cut out where Eva was doing the play-by-play. It was funny. And, it was competitive because both Kenya and Candy are competitive. And Kenya's team ended up beating Candy's teams, but, they beat them bad. Candy don't like losing. But it was a good activity. They had a good time. They had fun. But like I said, honey, they even had a real referee there. But I said they only played one game. They didn't even do the best 2 out of 3, but they tied after the one game. But anyway, I probably would have been tied too. So after it was over with, they all sat down. They had a moment. They gave each other a little group hug and all that good stuff. And we find out where they're going for this year's trip. They're going to Greece. It's hosted by Candy and Kenya. Child, you know what they do. You know Bravo hosting that trip. But it's being hosted by Candy and Kenya. And Nene is invited. Tanya is invited. Now, of course, if it was up to Kenya, they wouldn't be invited. But it ain't up to Kenya, so all of the ladies are invited. Of course, Eva can't go because either Eva's had a baby by then or she's going to be right there on the edge. She wouldn't be able to go now because she's 8 months. I don't even think she can fly at this point. And especially with the little scare she had last week, she definitely wouldn't be able to make it happen. So we have a moment where Cynthia talked to Mike and they found somebody that can do the therapy, but Mike doesn't seem to be too open to it. Cynthia was quoting her best Michelle Obama quotes from the book, and he was like, "You ain't Michelle, we good," so, but he did agree to go to therapy and he found somebody, so we're going to see how that works out. That's great for him. We have a cute scene with Baby Brooklyn is a cutie. She's a cutie. And they went to swim lessons, and Mark, got in the water with her and participated. And they had a good little family moment. It was cute. It was a really nice family moment. Afterwards, they had a conversation about this whole who's coming, who's not coming, who's invited. And Mark told her, I want everybody to come. Like, all that stuff that you got going on with these people, that's petty. I don't have nothing to do with that. I don't want to get in that. Let's grow up. But this is about my event, and it's bigger than that. And so I want everybody to come. So if you didn't invite Nene and Greg, I need you to invite Nene and Greg. Like he told her, I ain't got nothing to do. She said, well, I'm not in a really good place with her right now. He was like, yeah, but this is bigger than y'all little beef. Like, this is bigger than y'all little petty beef. And poor Kenya, she was sitting there like, you know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, that's how you feel. Like, it's bigger than that. And then he threatened to kill Kenya. Did y'all hear that? He said, next time we go swimming, he was talking to Baby Brooklyn. He said, next time we go swimming, Mommy's getting in the pool and she's going to be submerged and not come back and not get out. I said, did he just threaten to drown her? Anyway, the pregame event is a bowling event, so they're all to the bowling alley. Eva was there again. Like I said, Eva came to more events, but Eva's husband couldn't come. Now, I ain't about to drag this episode wasn't a lot. I ain't about to drag this whole scene out. But basically, the ladies find out that, well, not the ladies find out, the ladies knew that Nene wasn't tagged. And the ladies kept trying to tell Kenya, like, you can't invite somebody and not invite, their husband. Like, that's not cool. And Mark was like, everybody was invited. I didn't tell them they couldn't come. Same thing with Tanya. She told Tanya, Kenya, we found out that Kenya told Tanya if Paul couldn't come, then Tanya couldn't come because it was a couples event. And again, Mark was like, no. I wanted everybody who could come. I wanted to invite everybody, and everybody who could come could come. So I'm not understanding what the issue is. And Mark is totally contradicting Kenya. Every time Kenya says something about who she invited, why she invited them and didn't invite them, honey, Mark is like, this wasn't no couples thing. This was just a pre-event. Like, you didn't have to be a couple to come. And Kenya was like, well, this is a couples event. And he was like, no, it's not. It ain't no couples event. Everybody could have come. I said, poor Kenya. Every time she say something, he just being contradicted. And he said, so Kenya was like, well, it was a couples event, but clearly he's saying something different now. And I'm thinking, no, when y'all was back to the pool, he said he ain't want this mess. Okay. So the ladies, one by one, the ladies, they go off to the side one by one and they having these little sidebar conversations. And that's what they talking about. They like, well, Mark is not playing with Kenya. Like, he know how to shut, and he calls her Ken. So they're like, honey, Ken, he know how to shut Ken up. And they, again, we're having the conversation about her tagging Greg and not tagging Nene and how that wasn't cool. But that it seemed like Mark wants them all to come. So Kenya comes over there talking about something, what y'all talking about? And they were like, you. I said, well. And they were saying basically the same thing. Like, look, you need to call Nene. You need to reach out to Nene and let Nene know that she is welcome. And Kenya was like, Mark and tell her. And they were like, no, you were the one that put up the post. You were the one that didn't tag her. You need to. And she was like, and again, to a certain extent, Kenya has a valid point to say that Nene and I have not resolved the issue. Nene did come at me and had to be held back. And she told that to Mark when they were back at the pool. And Mark was like, whatever. He didn't care. Like, he was like, whatever. You being real dramatic. And she was like, what? So, while they're trying to have this conversation with Kenya and explain to Kenya why what she did wasn't cool and why she I'm sorry. The other thing that came up was Portia was telling Kenya that Tanya had a problem with being called a C word. And she was like, that's not your fight, Portia. That's not your fight. Portia was like, it ain't my fight, but that's my friend. And, y'all were cool. Y'all had a pretty good little friendship going. And then, now y'all had this misunderstanding. And Kenya was like, it wasn't a misunderstanding. She was like, whatever. But you called her out her name. And she felt some kind of way about it. Like, Portia was like, I personally wouldn't have been tripping that much about being called the C word, but in Tanya's mind, that's like, that's like calling somebody, I don't know whatever. So, and of course, Kenya is doing this whole, whatever, doing that whole look. But at the end of the day, your husband told you to invite everybody and you didn't. So, here come Nene and Greg coming through. Now, what I think happened was, I think somebody texted Nene and said, Nene, you better get your butt down here because Mike told Kenya to invite y'all. I mean, Mark told Kenya to invite y'all, and she did. You better get down here and start some problems, honey. You better down here and start some stuff. I said, I think that's what happened because she was so late. Like, by the time she got there, they were done. Even though Nene is known to be late. But whatever. They showed up. And Mark told him, he said, look, I don't know what the issue was. I'm not even on social media. I told her to put out the invitation. But as far as I'm concerned, y'all are invited. And I want y'all to be there. And he's like, I'm not about, breaking up, separating no couples. If one is invited, the other is invited. So, if you didn't get the invitation or the invitation wasn't sent to you properly, don't worry about it. You are invited and you are welcome. And I want y'all to come. Baby, Kenya was standing on the side, seething. He gonna say, and then he gonna turn to Kenya and say, you agree? Ken agrees, right? And Kenya was like, oh yes, we agreed. We agreed. And when Nene walked off, she gonna say to him, well, you got everything you wanted. See, I don't know what their issue is. But anyway, y'all, that's pretty much it. This really was sort of a filler episode, I guess, to set us up for next week. But at the end of the day, they just keep showing us that Kenya and Mark are just not on the same page. But anyway, let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.